Call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is minutes from December 4th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First up, Equinox Mountain Homes LLC, West Hill subdivision. Applicant wishes to adjust lot for a 6-lot 4-way boundary line adjustment. Who will be testifying tonight?
You Downey?
Try to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks.
Here's the plans, if you guys want to pass them around, but we're gonna have them up here on the board. So what we're doing here, everybody familiar with the West Hill subdivision, West Road? It's the old Bergerman subdivision done in the 80s. Equinox Mountain Homes purchased the remaining lots that were in here. And one had been developed before we got in there. What we're trying to do now is adjust some of the interior property lines. Nothing to do with the exterior, only to do with the interior lot. And the reason is back in the 80s when they did it, it wasn't a cleared lot, wasn't really accessible, and they just kind of randomly threw some boundary lines in there. Now that the lot's all cleaned up, we know where some of the significant features are, where the views are. Kind of want to adjust those property lines so that they're more developable. They'll bring in. It'll be a better spot to place these houses with, and also a better spot for the septics and the wells. And so we're going to be modifying all of that. But the first process is to go through and do the boundary line adjustments so that we can get the lots where they need to be. So we know how to do those septics and well modifications.
So this is the main.
Yep, so this is the whole subdivision here.
Okay.
I'll put it up here. So this is the whole subdivision here. This is West Road. This is West Hill. And if you go in there, you got that really nice field with the pond. And right now on lot number 10, they're building that house. That's there now. Lot number 9 has been built for quite some time. And then the rest of the lots, lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, are in existence now. But again, the way that the boundaries are not really conducive to a successful subdivision. So this is the subdivision road as it goes up today. This is what it looks like. The circle is actually new. It wasn't in the original design. We've modified that. It did have a hammerhead back here. It was one of the kind of stipulations for the fire department. You got to have some sort of turnaround. And back then hammerheads were kind of an ideal situation. It's not anymore. So I designed this here to have a nice turnaround. They might put a gazebo in up there or something like that, but it's basically, for the fire trucks and police, fire and rescue. It did modify a little bit of lot number 3. This is lot 3 here. So I had to steal some land from lot number 3 in order to do that. That's going to be one of those boundary line adjustments that we're talking about. And then we got 8, 7, 6, and 5. We're also going to modify. And unfortunately, we have to modify this lot down here, which is common land. We have to modify that to include the road. Unfortunately, when they did the subdivision, they never made the road part of the common land or its own lot. So it just kind of was floating out there. So we're going to incorporate that as part of the whole subdivision so that there's a maintenance agreement and everything's taken care of with the common land and divided it up, accordingly. I think maybe the reason that we're here tonight is because normally this can be done administratively through the zoning administrator, a boundary line adjustment, especially a boundary line adjustment between the same owner. But it's a very complicated. I mean, basically asking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boundary line adjustments to go, and so it's complicated, and so that's why we're here today. I can do a couple things. I can do a before, and then I can do an after, or I can do I need to do this one first. Can you guys approve that one? Move into the next one, and go that way. Either way, I can do it any way that you guys want to. But the overall gist is we're going to stay inside the subdivision. We're not changing lot 1, 2, or 4. Lot 11 is only gaining the road. 10's developed, 9's developed. 8 is changing shape, 7 is changing shape, 6 is changing shape, and 5 is gonna change shape. The only other thing that is, I think of importance is, I'm sorry, and 3. Is that the septics and wells have already been pre-approved for this back in the 80s. So there's already a wastewater permit and an Act 250 permit on this. So the wells are approved locations and the septics are approved locations. Right now, not knowing whether or not you guys are going to approve this, assuming you would, we didn't want to spend the money and the time to go dig new test pits and find new well locations and amend that permit until we know the boundary line adjustment is something that can get done. So in order.
I think that was my, because Peter and I had talked about it, and I think that was my initial concern, that the way the boundary line adjustments were going, one of the, I think it was lot 6, maybe the well and septic for lot 6 might have been on lot 5 or vice versa, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was.
This is lot 5 and lot 6's septic is on lot. That's what this purple box right. It's an easement area around the existing septic.
Okay,
And then on lot number 6 is the well location for lot number 7. And then 8 has a septic on lot number 7.
right, and that was,
So-
that was a confusing part. As far as the lot lines, I didn't have issue, but I just want to make sure that we have, each lot has its own well
So
septic.
I'm presenting it because it's basically what you guys need in order to make a decision. I didn't want to just leave it out there and not have each lot have something taken care of. Because if we were to sell this today, technically, you could really build that septic there and it would be fine. I'd put an easement around it and there's nothing wrong with that. We are not gonna do that though. I mean, the idea is we're gonna come back in here and we're gonna rework those septics, rework those wells, and they're all gonna remain on their own individual lot.
Okay, so the purple, the purple lines here are easements if necessary.
There are easements now for legality purposes, for you guys to be able to say, okay, septic is a non-issue. But know that we are going to change those. And actually, whenever we do a boundary line adjustment in Vermont, no matter how small it is or how big it is, you have to go to wastewater as well. So wastewater has to approve your boundary line adjustments on top of it. So it's, and not only that, but then we deal with Act 250. So we're three divisions. People, 3 different agencies reviewing this. So we're gonna have to satisfy wastewater with this. The first step is to get you guys to approve the boundary line adjustments. Once I do that, I can then go in there and start designing new septic systems and digging some test pits and finding new well locations. And then I modify the plan and send that to the state with the new septic and well locations. Once they come back and approve it, I would probably come back the second time, not to the board, probably just to Peter, with a revised plat that gets rid of these purple boxes.
Good.
So when you offered a before and after, you don't have an after with where you think the septic and wastewater, yeah,
Not yet,
Yeah.
not yet.
okay.
We do know that the whole site perks, for lack of a better term. We don't use the term anymore, but
Yeah.
the whole site perks. We don't think we're gonna have any problem. These lots are plenty large enough to sustain having new designs put in.
So basically the pond is common
Yep.
land.
This is called lot number 11 right here.
Okay,
And what we're gonna do is we're just adding this 50-foot right away, all the way up through. And then this little 10-foot wide kicker right here. That's unfortunately, we're having some issues with one of the neighbors and we got taken to court and we're mandated to provide a 10-foot wide easement up to this part here. So we were forced to throw that in there, which is another reason we're doing the boundary line adjustment as well.
oh, okay, so that little spur off the end
Yep.
is the easement for
Mary Lab.
Nicholas and,
No,
Mary
Mary,
Lab. Actually, this red line is for entire easement. We're required to designate a 10-foot wide strip from West Road all the way up to the other side of, all the way up to this line here, because she
Okay.
owns more property back in here and she has no real way to get there. We've never disputed the fact that she has a right of way through her property. It's written in our deed. Problem was, it was never really identified where it was or what the use was for or how wide it was. So that's what the battle's been over. So now everything's been settled and this is the end outcome is that we have to designate where the 10-foot wide right of way is going to be. And so we've put it on the road because that makes the most sense. And then once the road stops, basically, we gave her basically a 10-foot wide piece of property that is going to be part of lot number 11 now, the common land. So lot number 7 and lot number 6 do not touch each other anymore. There is a lot number 11, this red line here runs in between them.
Okay.
It's confusing, I know, but
So the lot line adjustments actually made lot 5, appropriate legal, I guess, to the 5 acre, is that?
yes. So there was, do you have the existing plan?
Yeah, just tell me
Yep.
where to start. That one right there?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so, this is actually this is what we plan on doing.
Okay. I've got several that you sent me. Is this one?
This one right here.
Okay.
Nope. That's still not.
That's all I have.
Anyways, what we've done here is lot number 5 actually came down here and over here, and it was not the right size. Back in the day, it wasn't required to be 5 acres. And what we're doing here, when we modify these, there's only one that's in non-conformance today. I'm gonna make that lot in conformance by bringing the acreage up. The complication of this boundary line adjustment is essentially, I need to take land from 8 and modify this so 8 works. And then I have to modify it with 7. Once I do that, I have to make sure that both are 5 acres. Once I do that, I need to modify lot 11 to go in between 6 and 7. And I have to take some land here and add it to there. And then I have to take land from 6 and add it to 5. And so that's the complicated part of this whole thing. That's why I was saying we could just do it before and after. And it's a little bit simpler than literally going through and explaining each one. But we do have those slides if you guys want to see them.
So lot 1, 2, and 4, which are pre-existing lots, nothing's changed on them.
And 10.
That's, well, the ones that are under the 5 acres, because those are 4.6.
Yeah.
Those are pre-existing lots.
Pre-exist. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we have no plans to do anything with 1, 2, 4. 10 is being built on right now. And then really the only modification to 3 is the teardrop.
So the right of way, it goes for land, but it looks, where is that? Because it says lands at Nicholas and Hersom Jaralis. On my, Here.
Pink right there.
on the pig, it says for Mary Land, but that's,
Oh, no, that's the neighbor across the street. Or I'm sorry, that's the neighbor, not across the street. This is the neighbor that it goes to their land, yeah.
okay, but who?
Mary Lab lives here. She has the right to go down our driveway now, go down West Road, come up our road on the right-hand side, stay 10 feet along the edge, get to this point, and then this becomes her only part of land that she can traverse up to this point here.
Which goes not to her land, though.
That's not my problem.
Okay, well, no, again, I was just questioning that. It's not making sense, but.
We are following the court decision,
Case,
whether it makes sense or not.
Henry.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, now I remember now.
There's a lot going on there.
Okay.
We did our part and
Yep.
that's the end of that.
Basic, any questions?
Yes.
Like I said, this normally could get done administratively. It's just because of the complicated nature of everything here, that's why we're bringing it before the board.
Any questions, Catherine?
No,
Oh, we're good.
Motion?
good.
Motion?
I'll make a motion. To approve it,
to close?
to close rather.
I'll second.
Right, I guess
Well,
we don't really need to write findings should we write findings for this or can we just make a motion?
Well, we could write up findings to approve. It's gonna be pretty simple.
Okay,
Excuse me, Peter, is this preliminary and final or? do I
This is
have to go
final.
back for
This is final.
Okay, great, thank you.
so we have a motion to close and Catherine
and I second
seconded.
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ryan. Get over, pick up that. Right there.
So I guess you can, there's another one. I don't know, log the area. You know,
It's somebody else. It's going.
yeah. She's the right to get over to there.
Well, now she's in a battle with them to get,
Now she's in battle.
But that's, yeah.
but that's not our problem.
Not our problem. You wanna?
Yeah, yeah, I'll take it. Unless.
No.
Do you want these?
You want these back, Brian, or?
All right, well,
Okay.
good luck, sir.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Cool, thanks. Okay. Peter, take off or?
He's coming back one second. He had to grab something, but yeah, next is, that was the only thing on the agenda. This is gonna be a preliminary for Dave.
We got a preliminary hearing for what, the Vanderbilt properties? It's just a preliminary hearing, no swearing in, just looking for an idea of what you're looking to do, what you're looking to propose.
So we have an interest in the Crystal Palace building. We have this idea. You don't have to go stretch that. Which would add bedrooms on the second level from that rear parking lot. And the team that I'm working with would like to know, if this would meet with what's proper for this site. One of the questions that came up is that this would be 2 stories off of that elevation, which is the rear parking lot, but it's 3 stories off the front elevation.
The height, or,
So the height-
do you know what the height?
Height
height
for a
regulations?
A slope roof, it's measured from like the lowest eave to the highest point. You average it out.
And also the basement is averaged out because it's half underground and half, so
Right, and it gets averaged to, because it's a lot, the height
The
on this
slope of-
side of the building is a lot higher.
yeah, it
So
gets
the roof
averaged
height's a
by
lot lower.
lower. The basement get average and the roof gets average. But the regulations, at least the way I read them, it says that it's a 2-story is allowed, and I might be wrong. I was reading the form I was given and it said 2 stories is permitted, but this would be 2 on the back and 3 on the front. So that was one question. And the second is, until actual plans are developed, we don't know exactly the height of this building. You know, it's in that 40-foot number that, but it could be 42, it could be 44, or, until it's designed, we have to be
Right.
able to get proper ceiling heights for those bedrooms on that second floor.
How many bedrooms are we talking about?
It looks like it'd be 5.
So what would the height from this elevation to the peak?
I was there today trying to measure kind of some of the existing conditions, and if you gave 10 feet to the first floor, to that level,
Right here?
yeah.
Yep.
The current truss system brings you 16 feet to the roof deck. There's flat roofs up there where the air conditioners are right now. If the building isn't torn apart completely, if we keep the truss system that's there, we're starting at 16 feet with the second floor.
Which would,
Then put you let's say it's a 9-foot ceiling for the bedrooms, and then you'd have an average, if you put a gable peak, you'd have an average of another, you'd probably be 30 feet above that driveway.
So what'd you say, you're
You're
10 feet
10.
here? And then
To
a
get
second
to the-
floor,
To get to this, to the deck, there's a current deck up there. Because these are flat, currently, there's a flat roof on both of these.
Right.
That runs through here. That flat roof on the existing construction, on the existing way it's framed, starts at 16 feet.
because these are all cathedral in here.
They're,
Is that what you're-
they're not cathedral. They have a very large truss system. They have a 4-foot truss system and a 2-foot gap in the drop ceiling currently. So,
Oh, okay.
so the only way to recoup some of that 6-foot distance that's in there is to actually take apart
The
that whole second
truss
floor.
system on the second floor. I see what you're saying.
So, and and without doing an architectural study of this, I'm not sure exactly how that would, how it's going to financially work if it's left in there or taken out. So I wanted to kind of get a feeling for if this was the change aesthetically, I think that's I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think that's a pretty nice looking aesthetic that we're trying to drive for.
So what's the building height,
The
Peter?
rule says 40 feet.
Yeah, the rule says 40 feet in that zoning district, town center.
Average.
Average
Yeah.
of those.
The way we measure our roof is the split between the eave and the peak, right? So halfway, it's the 40.
Well, and the,
Basement is got the slope. That's also.
and from this side to this side of the peak, that side of the peak, and average it, correct? Okay. So would that, what are you thinking it would be then?
So I.
42.
If that 6-foot discrepancy that we're, with these existing trusses are still left in there, I think I would be over to 40 feet.
42, 45,
42
50?
to somewhere, it wasn't much over, it could be 2 to 5 feet over, but it's in that range. But we were guesstimating. We don't have plans of the building. But again, it's in keeping with a neighborhood aesthetic.
So now roof heights, that would be probably the fire department question,
Fire department question, design advisory would want
design
to.
advisory, and then
Uh,
we conceivably, if it worked, we could a waiver for that.
possibly a waiver, right? Right. Because if that was the only criteria, you don't really do 2 waivers. Have you done 2 waivers before, back to back?
What would be the other,
If you needed another waiver, I mean.
what would the other waiver be?
I don't know.
Oh. Is I'm assuming this all fits within the zone it's in.
The use fits in, we don't have a great deal of detail to go on, and I wrote up a little bit of a kind of an overview of what I thought, how it would fit in. It's what does seem to fit is the fact that the downtown is really looking for residential to be added, as well as keeping the commercial. So this is a project that would kind of align pretty much with that. The question is, the devil's in the details, as you well know.
Mhm.
How many seats in the tasting room? How many bedrooms? How many?
And that's the other thing I was looking at just from the parking standpoint is that if you took one parking space for, let's say there was 8 residences that were built in there, that would designate 8 of those for
So each one would require one.
that'd require 1. Then if you take the square footage of the 1, 2, 4 retail that would be at street level.
Okay.
Those,
Based on square foot.
it's based on the square foot. And I did that. If you did the square foot retail for those, you'd end up with 20 that would be allocated. Because it looks like, based on the schedule that you guys have online,
Okay,
it takes 4 spaces for each one of the retail locations.
okay,
Then I looked at this other schedule that you have that says that during weekdays, the retail drops off at 5 o'clock, which helps the tasting room to 30% of that number.
yeah,
Not on weekends.
naturally, we'd have to have all this kind of,
I understand, but I'm just saying that I was looking at the sequence of this. It puts the tasting room at a fairly small capacity.
correct.
And I was told verbally that there's flexibility in that, but I don't know what kind of.
I'm not the flexible.
I know, no, I'm not saying you're flexible, but I'm just saying that a number of people have indicated flexibility in that, so.
Of course.
Although, isn't there a halt on that right now?
And I don't know if that's, I don't know what zone.
That's within, yeah, right.
I think that's within the zone we're talking about keeping in there. It was outside from
Is it in
the
down?
roundabout
No, this is the town center.
south. So this is in the town
Oh,
center.
downtown? Did you say it was a downtown?
Crystal Palace, I think. It is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's we would keep that paper parking in that.
Okay, that's what I thought the intent was.
Okay.
It was just south and north of the roundabout and north of School Street. I thought was where it was gonna not be that. In
There's an easement in that parking lot that seems to make it a shared parking lot with Polo, which is the next building over. How does that impact these parking calculations?
That's in downtown.
what does,
I talked to Craig a little bit today. He said there's basically 52 spots that go with that. So then naturally there's a share and I don't know how that's going to work. So that's something that's going to be kind of ironed out too with a proposal.
so if they were to purchase
I
it,
can't designate anything on something that's, been put as an easement.
but
Sure.
this property has 52
52,
spaces.
according to Craig Hunter.
Okay, and how many, just ballpark, what did you
So
figure out?
when,
you
so when
needed
I
for
was,
space?
when I was looking at, so if you take 8 plus 20, that's 28. That leaves you, what, 22? Yeah, no. it's 18.
34, right? No,
34 total.
24.
So if you're 28 and you had 52,
Yeah, 24 and 28,
24
30,
spaces.
52, yeah.
24 spaces would put, into the tasting room would probably put maximum capacity at something like, I don't know, 40 or 50, which is pretty small for the square footage of that tasting. Because the tasting room, again, the way this thing and I have never seen this before, it's 1 per 2.5 seats. And then there's an additional 1 per 10 seats in this additional column, but it didn't describe what the additional column meant. Is it that you add another seat?
Right.
Yeah.
So you do this first calculation and then you do the second calculation?
For every other 10.
Yes, then it drops that tasting room to a fairly small capacity, which again, makes it difficult to redevelop that site.
What were you looking for seats in the tasting room?
We have not designed it. I was using a number that maybe you have, 60 to 80 people. I don't know. But it's a very square footage wise, that corner, which is ideal for the Mount Holly beer tasting room would be ideal for it. It's a very large space and it,
So if it was, you said 60 to 80 or 6?
something, again, I'm talking
Well, no, it
off the top of my head
Right,
right
so
now.
what would 60 spaces or 60 seats end up being for parking
Yes.
spaces?
60 divided by 2.5.
2.5, and then you gotta add the 1 per 10. I did it at 100 and 100 was
30.
30.
Did you add the 10 to it also?
Yeah, I did 60 divided.
So it's not that, it's not that, pretty
One
close.
per every 10.
But most of a lot of the people that would be walking from other parking lots, that they're not gonna be parking at this location. They're gonna be walking around the neighborhood. So to be able to go to the next step on, acquiring this building, I need some assurance that this is in keeping with what the town would like to see there. With the caveat that we cannot be exact on that height to get those bedrooms up on the second floor until a full architectural design is drawn.
How many apartments are you targeting for
We're
that? upper
targeting
level?
8 right now that
Yeah.
that could see again without a full. It was 8 to 10, but it looked like today that we could not get 10, that we could probably get 8.
And they would be what? How many two-bedroom apartments?
2-bedroom, yeah.
I know we're looking for housing in town,
Yeah,
so that's a plus.
that's a plus.
The cupola doesn't get counted as part of the height. It's just living space.
Beg pardon?
Is it
Is that
cupola?
part of the height or
Is
no?
that counted as part of the height?
I don't know. That could be, you're gonna change that cupola, you're not gonna keep that.
The front cupola, there's no reason to keep that front cupola.
This is
That's a different one. That was just the reason that this was put here was just to pick up that, give it a more architectural line in that.
It doesn't have to be at that exact height.
So this was just trying to break up the rear
Mhm.
image. This one, obviously goes up another 4 or 5 feet above that. Oh, and it's a double cupola, actually. You notice that there's another one up here. There's cupolas on that.
And then if you throw in the dormers across the top there, it gets kind of.
But those dormers are not coming higher than the original.
No.
They're actually breaking it up and giving it some architectural detail.
How many residential units,
Eight.
potentially? Okay.
We were looking at 8 to 10, but it looked like today that 8 would be easier to do. And there would be 4 retail plus the tasting room.
For retail, you don't know the square footage is on that, do you?
The retail, they were averaging, it looked like 1,000 to 1,300 or 1,000 to 1,200 on the retail.
Each?
Yeah. The tasting room took the corner and I did not bring that number with me, what the existing corner was.
I mean, it sounds like a good plan.
Mhm.
We can't. We're not gonna give you a permit tonight for it,
No,
obviously.
I understand that.
But
But,
at least, I mean, I think if the only possible hurdles that I could see would be parking, but I think,
Between the parking and the height restriction, I mean,
Those are the 2 issues.
not having anything to go off of.
Oh, I have a beautiful drawing
You
for
have
it.
a great dream. And I think everybody here is supportive of that dream.
Yeah.
But I think I have to go into reality and to the ordinance and make sure that matches everything. So it's
As long as
not the eyes and
yeah.
crossing the T. I think you have the support. What I did write up was a zoning and administrator's opinion based upon, I pulled 25 seats out of my
Yeah.
whatever. And I use that. I didn't include the 4 1,000-foot commercials, but we could factor that into. But that was a basic outline of my opinion, and whether the board would support that or would take issue with any one of those points, I'm happy to discuss that. And
Those are the only 2 issues that I could see was there'd be a small variation possibly in the height if we keep the existing framing.
if you want to look at this overview, they haven't approved that. And you could see if this will fill the bill to go back to your people.
It has to be a pretty, because again, this is, serious money that's being put on the table. It has to be a pretty clear green light that this is doable to put on a 2nd-story bedroom that would have, something like this in appearance. And that, and that might have some variation on that height. We can't have bedrooms on the 2nd floor that would be, 6 foot tall.
Correct.
And it is the existing condition of the building that you have to work with.
And this is a prior Act 250 permit, is that correct?
I'm not familiar with.
I'm sure.
I believe so.
Some kind of a re-up with them would probably want to match notes with the District 8 advisor, right? To make sure there's whatever changes you do have are amenable.
This is also targeting regular market price type.
These are market price.
Yeah, no workforce housing or anything
No,
like
it's
that.
difficult to try to even cover the cost of this building.
Yeah.
There's no, the lot's limited to what,
Yeah.
trying to come up with a new life for the building.
And private entrances to the
So
apartments?
the private entrances would be off that rear parking lot, so that they're not coming off the street level, really, they're coming off the rear.
In this.
That's the, so no,
somewhere Inside there?
no, these would become, these will all be their own private entrances
Oh, okay.
coming in with their parking in front of the entrance.
Oh. Oh, I see. So they're 2-floor apartments.
These 5 would be 2-story apartments. There would be a bedroom on the first floor, the ground level, and then there'd be a bedroom upstairs.
Yep,
These would be 2 bedrooms running the length of the home.
interesting.
I remember shopping there with my kid. I have 5 kids and my daughter, one of them, and I remember shopping in that building for when there were all the different outlets and all, so. I don't really have anything.
I mean,
else
we
to-
could. So where do we stand with the parking now, Peter? In that pay for parking or whatever,
We're at 50, right? Is what we needed?
no, but what,
Right now, there's a moratorium on it by the select board, I believe, for everything, including the downtown. And then there's going to be a public hearing with the planning commission on February 10th. And hopefully they're going to pass that language along
okay,
to the
so
select.
what we had talked about,
Yeah.
you know.
It definitely fits the bill of having.
Now, does that,
residences in this zone here.
I guess basement, because that's on the main street, that would be different. Because I know with the old, you know, that we really couldn't consider the lower part of basement as we did with Factory Point, because the main street,
Right.
Factory Point, the basement was underneath the main street. This
Right.
basement is actually,
Main Street.
yeah, so we can't do that. Uh, I mean, the height, I think if we talk to the fire department on the height, that would be the first step. And as far as the parking,
The second floor apartments would be low enough for any fire departments. They're basically a 2-story home. They're no higher than the 2.
no, I understand, but I'm just saying that, because we do have a height limit, and if we're gonna go over the height limit,
Okay.
if the fire department usually, we'd contact them. If they're good with it, then
Okay.
probably would be easier for us to say yes. If they say no, then
Okay.
but that's why I think as far as the height, the fire department, as far as the parking, um,
The architect might come up with something to, keep it.
Yeah, it's just,
Maybe.
the building has a lot of mass side to side, you know?
Mhm.
So you try, it's like that image is trying to come up with something that.
Make it look half decent, yeah.
Yeah, make it in proportion.
I mean, obviously it'll have to go before the design.
Yeah, you don't want to put a flat roof building that end up looking commercial.
Yeah.
Right.
This
No,
looks
no.
very much in keeping with the town.
Um, I know you're probably in a little bit of a hurry to get going on it.
Well,
but, I mean,
the sellers are in a hurry to sell it, I believe,
Yeah.
so that, we have a pretty good plan of how to execute it. It's just that I need to know if the town would approve something like this.
I mean, there's, as far as the zoning part, Peter,
I don't see any issues.
any issues there?
Because the tavern is permittable.
Yep.
And as is the residential is permittable for multifamily, for a multi-use building.
So as far as the use of the building, I think we're all in agreement that it's,
Yeah.
the use of it, I don't think is an issue.
So,
It's-
it'd be nice if I could get some kind of saying that that use is appropriate, but also the redevelopment or the reconfiguration of this building, because to get the use, we need to put the second floor bedrooms in.
Right, and that's on the same token, I don't think the design advisory board have to look at it,
Right.
but they need a set of plans to look at it, but I don't think that that's, in my opinion, I don't think it's anything that's gonna send up any red flags.
Is it okay to share my administrative opinion with,
What's that?
can I share this with Dave, this opinion?
Yeah.
You see if it, you know, you see any tripwires for yourself with this. And if the board is, any changes they want to make, I'm happy to make changes that you'd like to see happen.
I review this tomorrow and come back with any comments, it's. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think that that's going to be doable for you,
I don't know. That's what I'm saying is that I'd like to reserve my opinion on it before
but this is the first opportunity that this board has seen that as well.
Just saw it when we walked
And
in.
I quickly, I met with my architect over dinner and we sketched that sketch on a napkin basically on dinner time. But I wanted to come back just because time was somewhat of an essence. I wanted to come back with there something visual instead of just kind of waving my hands and saying we're putting something on top of the roof.
That was just my,
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I like the idea and I think it'll bring a lot to the town.
You know?
The housing is encouraged.
Yeah, so I've been, I could talk to Matthew at the fire marshal about the height question.
Well,
that would be Chris at our local fire.
our local fire,
Okay.
department, yeah.
Okay, you guys, okay, so,
I can have Chris take a look at it tomorrow.
okay.
Because
So could
I
get-
don't think the state fire marshal, I don't know if they have height.
They'll probably have an opinion on your egress window.
Sprinkle-
They did, I talked to him about it
Okay.
already and he seemed to be pretty happy with everything.
Um, So what did you say, February they're talking about the person?
February 10th is the public hearing.
So that's a public hearing, so I'm
We're
timeless
60 days away probably after that.
from any type of decision. So you're end of April, 1st of May. For decision.
And what's that regarding?
Well, we had in town, there was, if you were short on parking spaces, there was a pay for parking. You could pay an amount to mitigate the parking that you were deficient. And I guess the boards decided that it might be getting a little bit out of control or whatever. They wanted to try to, we thought it was in one spot. It was encompassed more than what we had thought. So I think they were talking about maybe bringing it back to
Just the downtown.
the downtown area, which your property would be part of that, or this property would be part of that.
Yeah.
But so if you had, how many seats or how many spaces
So again,
were we deficient?
we don't know
you only-
because it hasn't been.
It's tough because nothing's out
super
there.
Tough when there's nothing to go by. I don't have any seats laid out. I
You
don't.
know,
I was just trying to think of what's economical for a tasting room and, if you have people come off the mountain, you might have a night where you have 80 people in there. I don't know. Maybe I'm optimistic.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
I have no idea, but so, we have a good beer brand.
So what happens in the tasting room?
It is my son has the Mount Holly Beer Company. So it's a very popular beer currently.
But I mean, do you have music? Do you have food? Do you have?
And food is very minimal, German pretzels and maybe, so it's not like a restaurant, but it's not a bar. It's not a, loud music, bar scene. It's more of a place where, the beer is featured and people do, enjoy good quality craft beer. So it's a high-end bar instead of a noisy dive bar, for lack of better. Because it's featuring their brand.
What are usually hours on something like that? Just,
I go to bed early, so I have no idea. I guess it's what people, I'm sure it's got some seasonal thing to it. What's nice is that I heard that there's music on the green across the road. I think in the summertime, people would take advantage of that and walk across. It's basically to really give the beer a lot of the craft beer brewers in Vermont have a location somewhere, whether it's Burlington, that they have tasting rooms where they're featuring their beer. And that's kind of the next phase of my son's growth. He's done really well with it, both in Vermont and Connecticut, but it doesn't have a location. It's very popular beer at the Crooked Ram. We've had a lot of tap takeovers at the Crooked Ram with it. And but we don't control the taps at Crooked Ram, so you end up with one tap at a time or something like that. So I'm just a dad trying to help my kids out. But those are
so 52 spaces, and if you, again, where did you come up with
I just guessed, did you put any commercial in there?
no, but where did you come up with if you had 50 seats, what did you say that was the?
25 seats for the tap room.
So that's what you figured, but if he was figuring 50, what did you come up with a number for parking for the 50 again?
I said, well, you said there are 4 residential units, right? Outside of what the tap room,
there's eight a minimum.
4 commercial, and they're 1,000 square feet.
They're 1,000 to 1,200.
Okay,
Depending on if you just count the retail part of it. I'm not sure of your regs, if it's just the retail part of it or if it's also the storage room, for retail. Those are like little differences.
I did it quick, like 6 spots per retailer that's not Mount Holly beer, and then 8 spots for each residential unit, so 30 total spots, leaving you 22.
At 20 on the retail,
I did,
it says 250 per square, per 250 square feet.
and then it has, under the additional, it says 2.
Yeah,
So I added those in per retailer. Yeah,
okay.
I had 6 per retailer, so 24 total for the retail,
Okay.
and then 8 for the residential, so 30 spots accounted for, so 22 open spots.
And 22 open spots doesn't leave you very many seats. But I mean, there are those things that the residents' numbers are usable at certain times of the day, but it's difficult to figure it
Well,
out.
if you want to talk with Craig on the share part of things and find out if you can bump it that way, like you said, when the retail closes down, Paul.
Well, it has, I mean, you have it in your bylaws or in your law rules that there are at certain times, but it doesn't help on weekends. It doesn't drop much on the weekends.
Correct.
But to be able to use a building like that, that's that large, you have to have some flexibility in these things. The building has been built years ago. We're just trying to give a new life to it.
Understand. So read over what I wrote. Back to me what you think
Okay,
to have changed. I'll make sure that the board sees it.
yeah,
They're okay with it
okay,
before we send it.
do that.
Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
the parking? I mean, that's if it's a waiver that you need or part.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to the point where we have something that there's a green light where the people that are backing me will actually put the money on the table. And they won't do it until they feel like.
We don't want to spend a lot of money on design work as well.
I can't.
Unless-
Yeah,
Right.
this building is too big and too complicated you can't just take it on a napkin. You have to literally put a full design.
18,000 square feet, right?
It's 16,000 square feet, but it's not just the way it was constructed years ago with the trusses and everything. It's more complicated than your average building. And,
Well, look that over. If we can help.
yeah.
we-
Yeah. We're gonna need one set of these, and could I take one set back?
I'm keeping this one.
Huh?
I like this.
Yeah, no, but can I take one set of
Yeah.
this back and
Yeah.
you guys with one set?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
You around tomorrow or?
Oh, a question?
Yeah, I'm gonna,
There's a question in the audience. Oh,
So I'm Christy Rocio from TPW Real Estate. I have the building listed for sale. So I'm here on behalf of Vanderbilt folks. They have not seen any of this piece yet. So just need to go on record on that. It's not an application. Because they want to obviously see, any of the comments too. But I think I've had a building for sale for now a while. You guys know that in town. And the 2017 town plan specifically calls out a mixed-use redevelopment of this building. And this, what he's put together here, it's exactly it. I think anybody who comes in to do something there, I've shown it so many times, and it's a lot of building, and it needs redevelopment. And so, just, thankful that you're open-minded of, there's gonna be roof height things, there's gonna be parking things, no matter who it is, but that town plan really noted this specific building of having a mixed use. And to see mixed use come forward on it is really positive. And I also think, obviously we all know we need housing and all those things, but really going back to doing the new town plan now, and that can be carried right over to today from 17, that would be a good, use for the building. So I think considering when you have the parking, and roof heights and all of those things, it is definitely one that no matter what happens with it, it's gonna need a new lens to look at it. We've all looked at that same building the way it is. And so it's fun to look at it in a new way. So I'm just saying that piece on, the building, there is no contract, the building is available for sale. So just, that piece, because I know boring.
yeah, this is just, obviously this is just preliminary hearing.
Absolutely.
And it's not, and I kind of like doing these because it helps the developer and whatever, because there's no sense them wasting a lot of money putting something together if it's just an outright no to begin with. So if he's got the impression we're all for it.
David gone over
It's-
the plan with me, and I said, that's
Yep.
great, and I said, it's hard to figure out base elevation, according to base elevation and that piece, but, it really sounds like the plan is something that, has implied, and the parking pieces, and now with the Riverwalk right across the street, and you have connectivity to so many different parts in town. From there, yes, you have to do the count for the immediate parking, it's a hot topic in town right now. But for sure, when you're there and the next time you cruise around, you say, wow, there's a lot of parking around, in the immediate area right there. More so than most places in town,
Well, and again, and that's what the planning board's working on, and they're trying to get together new parking regulations, maybe a little less stringent or whatever, but, as far as our board's concerned, we have to go by what's in the ordinance now. And we're willing to work with people as best we can, but we can't, if it's in the ordinance, we gotta go by the ordinance. You can't, but we're, willing to look at all the options.
Thanks.
Thanks. Cool. So you had one other one? This is,
In my mind,
you had a question?
so administrative boundary line adjustment between the Northfire Baptist Church. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night. Here we go. Not a big one, small one. And what they're looking to do is to add 0.7 acres. It's currently, boundary line is here. And it's 0.9 acres. And they're gonna add 0.7, so they'll have a total of 1.6. So they're taking it from this piece here.
Right up. Yeah. Just to read it through.
Another copy right here.
So what property is this?
This is
here
the
then?
church property here. This is the Aspen Hotel, motel.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
What's the purpose of that?
He didn't give me a purpose.
Where's the current boundary?
It's the red line.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
What is there now in there? Is it just wooded or?
Just wooded.
Okay, so that's the big picture of it. Yes.
And Aspen owns that property
Aspen owns the property.
and they agree to sell it?
Mhm.
No, are there any buildings out in that area or where's the main hotel or all their
That's
buildings?
down in here.
And it's not going to affect.
What's your oh, sorry.
I don't really have any concerns. I think it's a slam dunk at administrative boundary line adjustment.
Yeah.
But I figured I just want to run it past the board, see if there's anything that you see that you may have objection to.
The application doesn't ask for a reason?
Yeah, they don't state anything. I asked them for a, deed. Yes, provided that just yet.
Do something with it.
Yeah. He wants to move the playground, which is out here by the street too.
Well, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, again, if it doesn't, it's not going to, moving that line, is it going to create any non-conformance on the
That's
asphalt?
correct.
Okay.
So if you read the criteria for a boundary line adjustment, it's pretty simple.
As long as it doesn't affect.
But I wanted to run it
Yep.
by you guys to see if you thought of anything that
Administrative,
that I wasn't seeing.
I'd say so. Looks good, Pete.
Okay.
All right.
Don't mean to complicate your lives, but figured I'd just run it past you.
We're here.
You're here.
Here we are.
And,
Here we are.
There it is.
It's
This
cold
thing here
outside.
kind of looks kind of Taj Mahal there, you know, with the big cupola on the top and the.
Well, design advisory, I think the dorm is
Administrative.
It was
nice to
good.
break up.
Yeah, yeah.
break up-
I didn't get a chance to.
I'm sorry.
I,
Print another copy if you like.
or enter email,
I mean, if we're concerned about the height of the building, it's
so I tried to read it. fast.
go over.
And I couldn't get through.
on the
Okay.
40.
Um,
That shouldn't make.
I don't think that's a
any
big
deal.
So,
I didn't see the tone of your,
Okay.
like, is he gonna leave going, oh, I have?
That's, he's gonna read it over. variance can come back and see if this way I can.
Hey, thanks.
Make it a little bit more of a.
Have a good one.
Chrissy?
I mentioned the tripwires, the height and the parking potential.
Right.
Just to cover ourselves. I mean, I don't want to go in there and say, oh, you got this.
Yeah.
No.
Because that's just never good for anybody.
No. We don't have a plan to.
We're
Right,
basing
you
it on
come
nothing.
back, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're basing it on a cartoon.
We can't give them.
Well, I'm glad you
another
did
decision.
this, had him come, because we had on the other board, I'm on the
Yeah.
housing task force, there was talk about having our board or the housing task force board write a letter to this prospective purchaser in support of it. But I think that's, again, I don't think that that's really gonna help them at all, because it's, if it doesn't meet zoning, it doesn't meet zoning. We could be in, our other board could be in support of it all we want, but if it doesn't meet the zoning, it doesn't work.
They got no plan.
So I'm glad we did that. So at least he'll have a better idea of what he can or can't do. I mean, what's your thoughts on the parking? How do you think that's gonna go, or what do you? Oh,
Recording or?
Oh, do you want to shut the meeting down or?
yeah.
Make a motion to go into deliberative.
I make a motion, we go into deliberative.
Okay.